Good morning from an absolutely beautiful, beautiful morning in Limerick. The kind of mornings I love. Cool, crisp, clear, dry, and they really do make for healthy weather, these kind of mornings. A bit frosty, a bit cold, certainly not suitable for the plant that I'm going to talk to you on the contrary fuchsia this week. For Plant of the Week, it's orchids, and I'm going to talk about orchids in general. And one of the reasons I want to do that is because you can grow orchids in Ireland. We do have native orchids, and we do have, you will find them for sale, and they're relatively easy to get. Word of caution though, be careful what you're buying. I'm always advising people to go to garden centres, go to at least where there's somebody that knows what they're talking about when it comes to the plants that they're selling, because you get best value for money. So orchids, yeah, you can grow orchids in Ireland. I actually this year was privileged to have an orchid in my own garden. It was Orchid opifera, the so-called bee orchid, and I wasn't expecting to see it, to be honest. I let the lawn go for a few weeks without cutting it. I'm trying to kind of reduce the number of times that I cut the lawn every week. My dear Michelle won't want to hear that, but look, that's what I did. And I was rewarded, we were rewarded, because she came out to have a look at it as well, and she's not really a plant person, but she was fascinated by the fact that an orchid grew in our lawn, and it did. It was gorgeous to see it, and it lasted for absolute weeks. I just mowed the lawn around it when I had to, so I'm hoping it will come back. I'm hoping it will come back this year. And if it does, I'll just leave it there. Don't ever dig up anything out of the wild. I know in the UK it's illegal to touch orchids in the wild, and I'm not too sure of what the law says here, to be honest with you. But in any case, you shouldn't touch it. Just leave it alone. The plant isn't doing any harm, and it's growing where it wants to grow. It's growing where it's supposed to grow. So leave it there. But the plant that you're going to buy, some of you, for Christmas, the orchids that you're going to buy, come usually in three forms that are sold here. They're oncidiums, dendrobiums, actually four. Dendrobiums, phalaenopsis, and the most common one is cymbidium. And cymbidium is grown, is the one that's grown most often, or sold most often, because it's the one that's grown the easiest. And that's the reality of it. You'll find them in most plant centres, you'll find them in florists, and you'll find them in garden centres as well. So the difference between all of those, they have slightly different requirements with regard to heat, with regard to light, with regard to watering, and what they have in common is the beauty of the orchid flower, which is probably the most spectacular thing that you'll see almost anywhere. I mean, if you've ever been lucky enough to go to a proper garden like Kew with climate controlled glass houses and all that. I was in one recently in Budapest, and I had some photos of orchids, and they're just spectacular. I'll throw some up into this afterwards, but they're just spectacular. But the circumstances in which they're grown is really climate controlled and expensive to keep something like that. But you can grow them at home. The cymbidium is the easiest one. So if you're going to buy one for somebody, buy one that's just coming into flower if you can. Don't buy one that obviously clearly hasn't been looked after where it is, because if the people trying to sell it to you aren't looking after it while it's in their care, it's not going to be a very good plant. So cymbidium can be propagated. You can use, there's about 4 or 5 different methods of propagating orchids. Seed cuttings, you could divide them like you would a herbaceous plant, and you can use things called pseudobulbs. Now pseudobulbs they're like bulbs in the ground, or corms in the ground, except that they're what they look like are swellings between leaf nodes, and sometimes they develop roots, and you can grow a plant from those. Now when the plant is in flower is not the time to cut those pseudobulbs. Wait until it stops flowering. And the secret to growing and propagating orchids is patience. There is an orchid growing society, or an orchid society in Ireland. They have a lovely website, and they will give you all the information that you want with regard to growing orchids. So enjoy your cymbidiums. They are well worth the money. I think what they retail generally about 25-30 euros each, which is a lot for one single plant. But at the same time, you're going to get a lot of time out of it. The person that you give it as a gift to will really appreciate it, because even though they are sold and they're easy to get, you don't see them in too many houses. I think people are fazed by them because they're orchids. They think they need a huge amount of extra care. Just obey a few rules specific to that particular plant. Look it up online when you buy it. You know, you're not going to be growing the exotic orchids that are grown all over the world and are grown in the wild, from the tiny platystele younger manioides to the massive Grammatophyllum speciosum, which grows to about 4 meters, something like that, in the wild. And enjoy orchids over the winter or over the Christmas. Of course, if you have custard with anything, that's from vanilla, that's an orchid. So we're never too far from orchids. We're closer to them than you might actually think. So that's it. I will have a plant next week which has a real association with Christmas, and it's a plant that we know and love, and I'm looking forward to doing a little piece on that. But until next week, my name is Jim. This is the Canary Fuchsia. This is the Contrary Fuchsia. Oh God, I'm not going to edit that out. We all make mistakes. Talk to you next week.